Welcome to the Monkeys Fighting Robots podcast with Matthew Sardo.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Holy sh**, they're actually monkeys fighting robots! You can follow us on Twitter at monkeys_robots and on Instagram at monkeys fighting robots. Make sure to download and review our podcast from iTunes and Stitcher. And now, here's your host, Matt.
Welcome to the 100th episode of Monkeys Fighting Robots. Today's episode is going to be magical. EJ and I are talking about the top 5 films involving magic, wizards, sorcery, and witches. I'm your host, Matthew Sardo. I'm also the co-founder of MonkeysFightingRobots.com. Joining me in the banter is my co-host, movie critic EJ Moreno.
Matt, it's a super magical day. We're talking about magic movies. We turned 100. We're officially older than Betty White, and I like this. I'm digging this. I'm glad that I've been here. Not the whole time, but I kind of came in on this later half and has had a blast doing all of this.
Yeah, no, 100. It's not easy to be committed to 100 episodes of anything.
Yeah, because Anna, I think we took maybe 1 week off one time, and we've been, since doing this, we're weekly, and that's awesome. And I love being able to do that and produce content and getting the feedback that we get. This is so awesome. One of my favorite experiences I've had. I'm so glad we hit 100. Now I can't wait for a 200.
Ooh, I hope Chad's listening. He's been MIA for 2 weeks. Kind of worried about him. Or I think we might have to go to Canada and go rescue him or something like that.
We just might need to go to Canada in general, but no, I'm just kidding. I had to make a slight political talk after last episode being like recorded on election day or post-election day. We had to get one in.
No, we're in the battleground. We're in Florida. Our vote matters. You know, we do what we got to do, and we'll see what happens in 2 years.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun 2 years, and we're going to keep doing the podcast for these 2 years and get to experience all of this, so this is going to be fun. Unless
we get censored for being anti-Trump.
Ooh, that's going to be fun.
We wanted to talk about Fantastic Beasts this week. That was our goal. We're like, oh, Fantastic Beasts is coming out this week. We will talk about it. We'll review it. We'll do what we do on this podcast. But then we saw Fantastic Beasts.
And we were super bored by it, basically.
It's one of the most awkward films I've seen in a long time because I don't understand how you put all those characters together and make a cohesive film.
Yeah, there was nothing to grasp. It's very awkward. And usually I'm an off-putting kind of humor. I really like that mumblecore genre where it's just like awkward dialogue for like 2 hours of a movie. I get it, but this was just awkward to the almost uncomfortable point, and it didn't have any magic to it, and that's going to be my whole theme of my review is how is this a movie about magic and it doesn't feel magical? It makes no sense. So I was really upset that we didn't get to talk about this, but it grew into a way better topic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go in and have like a negative 100th episode. I wanted to talk about cool shit because it's the 100th episode and we talk about cool shit all the time. So we're going to put Fantastic Beasts on the side, but it inspired us to talk about our 5 favorite films involving magic. And the whole conversation of like what is magic in a film hit like a whole nother conversation for us before this podcast even like took off. I think we have 10 films plus our honorable mentions that are all over the place.
Yeah, the whole idea of magic is such a big spectrum, and it doesn't have to be just wizards or witches or sorcery. There's so much more to it, but it has to have a spell caster. It has to have that root of magic to make it on the list. And it's funny to see that it's not just a fantasy thing. There is way more to the genre.
Big. It didn't make an honorable mention or it didn't make my list because I know it involves magic, but it's not really involving magic. But that's where we kind of are. We're like, where does that film fall in the world of magic? And then there's other films that are more fantasy or more, I don't know. It's
absolutely. That's how I feel about like Lord of the Rings. While this is it's in a magical universe, the magic isn't the forefront or the big part of it. Where something like even like Warcraft, I would probably even say is more of a magic based movie. It has that orc feeling, but it's heavy on the magic more than like a Lord of the Rings was. So it's so crazy how big the spectrum is.
Yes, and then there's even like the low end of magic where there's barely any magic, but like this shit's real and gritty and amazing.
Well, yeah, one of those I feel like made it on my list, and I can't wait to talk about one of those kind of more realistic uses of magic and illusions and stuff like that.
Do you read from bottom to up? That's we have a joint draft that we have our outline in that we on Google Docs, and I have my movies listed from 5 down to 1, and EJ's got his listed from 1 to 5. Without I don't understand how you read, sir. You millennials, I'm confused.
Yeah, it's the millennial reading. We just read a completely different way than anyone born like before the 80s. But no, it's just how I wrote it down. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see if I mess up this list. But no, I hope you go first so I can kind of get a pace for it.
Well, my first honorable mention is Secret of Nim. I love this film. My whole list is basically the 80s because it's where I grew up and enjoyed my grandparents' Showtime and HBO because we didn't have that at my house. But as soon as we went there on Saturday, I just hopped straight to the TV and was like, what's on HBO? And during a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, this is where I get the best of my stuff. A Secret in Him. This is the glorious, beautiful movie. And it's an honorable mention. Don Bluth. Don Bluth, baby.
Not a bad honorable mention at all.
Well, now we have to see. This is how this is how podcasts work.
Oh,
like I say an honorable mention, then you say an honorable mention, then we go back and forth.
I didn't know if you wanted to get your first 2 honorable mentions out of the way, but no. One of mine, we're gonna get this big one out of the way, is Harry Potter. I'm not a huge fan of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's a cool film, but I think what it did for introducing magic and showing us this crazy big universe is everything that was missing from Fantastic Beasts. So that makes it on my list for just being an iconic film within the magic universe.
I don't know if I like the Harry Potter movies. I like the books. But if you ask me, like, is there like super memorable moments or lines that come out of it? I have nothing for you. I don't. I like Ron Weasley. That's the guy I like. If there was a Ron Weasley movie going on right now, I'd go see that. I like that guy.
I really wanted a Weasley spinoff. That whole family was crazy. But yeah, that's why it makes it on my honorable mentions, because I don't love it, but I really, really respect what it did. Even for what young adult novels to the franchise that it's become in movies, Harry Potter is a revolutionary thing, and it has to be mentioned when we're talking about magic at least once.
My other honorable mention, staying in the 80s, 1985, there was this small Ridley Scott film called Legend. And I first noticed this film because of Tom Cruise. I was a fan of Tom Cruise in like the 90s, and I kind of went back through when I worked at a video store, I went back and saw all the different movies that he did, and I did that with a whole bunch of other artists. But then when I got to Legend, a young man must stop the Lord of Darkness. And the Lord of Darkness is Tim Curry. And it's one of the coolest demon, devil looking beasts that's ever been made on cinema. And there's unicorns and there's magic, and it's quality fantasy wizard and warriors.
That's one of the ones on your list that I've never even heard of. I've kind of briefly
gonna
seen
punch
clips
you in
and
the
stuff,
face.
but I will say you have me hooked. Like you said, director, you said the actors. I was like, you know what? That's definitely one on your list that I'm gonna have to check out now.
And then it has Mia Sara as the main girl.
This cast is like kind of awesome. It's so like late 80s, like
Sloane Peterson from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Early Sloane Peterson. The crushes I had as a kid.
Oh, so my second honorable mention is Now You See Me. It's a newer film, and I think it's one of the most interesting uses of magic in film, to mix it with the heist genre, to kind of give you Ocean's like 13, but with magic. So interesting, so cool. I'm sad that it became like diluted with a sequel, and I don't think the movie is honestly that amazing, but it's another one that I respect for what it did for trying to be inventive.
It's a very inventive film, and it's one of those films that kind of caught people off guard. And they're like, oh, I kind of, but then you saw it, and you're like, wow, they actually, because they went with the big spectacle magic of the big spectacle illusions, and were able to pull it off. And then there was like a hint of like magic at the end, and you're like, ooh, what's going on with this? So I enjoyed that film. I agree. Great honorable mention. Now, top five's coming at us.
And your top 5 starts with a crazy awesome pick.
Again, I already let you know that I was a child of the 80s, and I was a child of grandma and grandpa's cable, HBO, and Showtime. And nothing played more on HBO in the 80s than The Beastmaster, starring Mark Singer. This sword and sorcery fantasy is amazing. And then you've got just animals. You got tons of animals, man. Like this is like kids' dream of like, I'm gonna walk around with a sword shirtless, and I'm gonna have ferrets and panthers and eagles, and we're gonna take on the wizard, and it's gonna be just and it was scary too, man. Shit was scary.
You know, it's that weird 80s time where a lot of these movies aimed for kids were actually really terrifying, and they had really great characters. Yeah, Beastmaster, it's the definition of 80s like fantasy cinema, but it's perfect. I think it is one of the coolest, campiest movies of all time.
Tanya Roberts walking around with not a lot of clothes. And then, I mean, it's like this movie predicted the future of Rip Torn. Like, I mean, Beastmaster Rip Torn is probably 79-year-old Rip Torn, or however old he is now, because he just went batshit crazy. So it predicted the future.
That is how iconic Beastmaster is. It predicted Rip Torn's future and just delivered. Honestly, like you said, no one wore clothes. There was a bunch of animals. It's the perfect, just mind-numbing fun movie.
Again, there's the crazy ring that could see shit, and there was those like bat things that sucked up people and spit out their bones. Like, there was so much scary shit going on in that movie, but I still watched it, and I was like, go get him, Beastmaster. And then did one of the ferrets die at the end? Oh, it was sad. There was some sadness, but like I think the ferret died saving. Are they ferrets or weasels? I don't know. What's the difference?
Aren't they like the same thing? Like,
it's, you know, I don't want the Beastmaster nerd population coming out yelling at me, but I think one of the ferrets like sacrifices himself, biting Rip Torn's ear, and then he falls into a pit of whatever and stuff like that. So like there was even like tears in my eyes for this movie. It has all the emotions. All the emotions. That's why it's number 5 on my list.
I don't know how I can follow that up, but I will say my number 5 pick to kind of follow your theme is my only 80s choice, and it's a Studio Ghibli film, a great Japanese animation company. It's called Kiki's Delivery Service. One of my all-time favorite animated films. It's so awesome, so fun. They've done it like a couple of American dubbed versions, and I think this is what kicked off Studio Ghibli to being this amazing, crazy epic world that we got to get spirited away and stuff like that. Love this movie, but it's about a young girl who just flies around on a broom and delivers goods. You know, she's kind of magic based. She can fly, but she does it on a broom to give you that witchy feel. It's so cute. So like for me to be this like, wait till we get to my number 4 pick that is the complete opposite of this, but it's so cute, so harmless. I really adore this movie.
Animated film, correct? We're animated film. This is what it is.
Absolutely, yes.
And there's a girl that flies around on a broom that delivers shit.
Yeah, she wants to do. She moves to a new town, wants to do like a delivery service, and like her deliveries don't really go well, so she kind of has to prove herself and gain her powers back. And
are there other
really
people on brooms delivering stuff?
Well, it's a whole element of like witchcraft in this thing, but how she does it is kind of her own thing. That's why she does her little delivery service, and everyone has magic, but how she does it is her own unique thing. And so yeah, she has to go through this whole hero's journey of trying to win back her powers, and it's cool to see a little young girl do it, and it's just so iconic, and I really, really enjoy it. For it to be, it's one of those films where it's in a magical universe, but uses magic a lot enough to make it on my list.
Interesting. I like it. I feel like I've come closer in our relationship after you explaining Kiki's Delivery Service to me. I feel like we've bonded over that film already. And again, apparently we didn't bond because he's got nothing to say at all.
No, I hope you get to see it because it's awesome and it's probably like the nicest thing I've ever said on this podcast. Like this cute, like friendly stuff that I enjoy because the rest of my choices are a little bit more darker.
My fourth film has got to be the film that creeps out little kids year in and year out. It's like you walk into it, you're like, you know what? I'm 6 years old now. I can watch this film. I can make it through life. And then you watch it, and then you're like, nope, I'm never going to sleep ever, ever again after watching this film. And we are talking about the 1982 classic by Jim Henson, The Dark Crystal, because they're going after magical crystals, the Gelflings. And then there's just, what did they do to those little guys? They suck the essence out of them. They like, and then you see it too. Like, just sucks it out.
So graphic. Yeah, so graphic.
I want to talk about this film, but I'm just like creeped out about everything about this film. But when we're talking about some of the better films about magic, this has to be it because Jim Henson and Frank Oz did insane shit with puppets. There's not enough puppet love in the world.
No, absolutely not. And I think in this era, I think Labyrinth does get a lot of the praise where Dark Crystal's kind of like the like stepchild to it. But I think Dark Crystal's a far superior, just well-made film. I really think it's awesome. The puppets are terrifying. And it's Jim Henson at one of his craziest moments. And it proved why he was so good at what he does. He can do family entertainment, but he can also give you this dark, real story. I really, really love The Dark Crystal. Another one on your list that I'm like, damn, you've made a really awesome list for your magic movies.
The evil race of grotesque bird-like lizards. The Seekisis. Gnomish dragons who rule the fantastic planet with an iron claw. What? Yeah, those guys. Oh, and then the scratchy voice. What is up with that high-pitched scratchy voice of like Gelfling? Oh, God. Oh. And then you got the lady. Did the lady take her eye out? What was going on with her eye? The magic lady? Looking for the Gelfling. I don't know. It's just so many crazy things with this one.
Yeah, it's so dark, so surreal. It's awesome.
It's been a while since I've watched it. I probably should go rewatch it. I probably should buy it for Alice so she can be scared the shit out of.
Well, yeah, you have to pass your terrifying fear of Dark Crystal down to a different generation now.
I'm sorry, Alice. I apologize.
So my number 4 pick on my list is completely different from what I was saying with Kiki's Delivery Service or even the other ones. It is a 1970 splatter film titled The Wizard of Gore. One of the coolest movies I've ever seen. It's so disgusting. It's directed by iconic splatter horror icon Herschel Gordon Lewis. He just recently passed away. R.I.P. Herschel, you were awesome icon. What he did with this movie and kind of mixing magic and illusions into the horror genre, it was so unheard of at the time, and it's so gross and disgusting. And this came right after, we were doing these like psychological horror films with what Alfred Hitchcock was doing, but this was before like Last House on the Left, like rape kind of revenge movies. So this was a good classic gore movie.
Yeah, no, you told me about this film and we're talking about it right now, and I am still not going to ever see this film. There's movies out there where I'm just like, yeah, Wizard of Gore, Splatterhouse film, illusionist, killer magician, like where you just can, no, I'm good. I'm going to pass on that one.
Yeah, you just hear like the notes about this. But no, it's really cool. They do really cool things with illusions and magics, and that there's a great twist. And the lead actor who plays the magnificent magician, so genius, so campy, so over the top. But then it goes down to the most realistic graphic gore I've ever seen, because it's the 70s. It's before we really had time to kind of try to make things too pretty. It has a gross feeling to it. Love it. It's what I like about cinema. It's so funny that I go from cute animated Japanese movie to the American filthy stuff that I actually really, really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I wanted to like bounce around in different eras of time, but apparently for me, when it comes to magic, like my realm is the 80s, and it happens to just be 82 as well, is The Last Unicorn. That was a big budget animated film that just never took off. It was the same year as Secret of Nim. But, like, the cast of The Last Unicorn is Alan Arkin, Jeff Bridges, Mia Farrow, Angela Lansbury before she was super famous. Christopher Lee is in there. Like, it's all the big names of Hollywood, and then some big Christopher Lee now with Lord of the Rings and all that stuff, and Angela Lansbury with Beauty and the Beast. Like, but I saw this movie at the video store, and I was like, I gotta pick it up. And there's like crazy like late 70s, 80s music in it too, as like and I still trying to wrap my head. As a kid, you're just like, whoa, Schmendrick is the crappy magician that turns the last unicorn into a person, and they're kind of wandering around, and then Jeff Bridges wants to have sex with the unicorn. But I mean, like, it's just weird. It's just weird, man.
It is. It's one of those things that, like, I like this movie, and it definitely goes underappreciated. And I think maybe that's why I have such a liking for it, because it's such a solid cast. It's such a solid film, but it's just so unloved. And I'm like, I'm going to love you. I'm going to show you that you're weird and bizarre, but someone will still like you.
And again, this is another one that predicts the future. Like, the unicorn is afraid of Red Bull. Like, you probably should be afraid of Red Bull too. Like, it's the one thing about like 80s, and I'm sure it happens with animated films now. I don't know, because they're all big budget now. But like, these were made on small budgets or comparable to other times, so you probably could get away with the crazy shenanigans. Like, nobody was like micromanaging you would be like, hey, this is going to make $1 billion, so you can't really put like creepy ass shit in a film. But they did.
Well, absolutely. This is a little bit more tame than what I was going to mention, but this was still the same era that movies like Heavy Metal came out. That is an animated film that is completely not marketed to anybody other than just adults. So yeah, I like that this era, like Last Unicorn, they used magic and they used this fantasy in whatever way they wanted without limitations. So awesome.
And I don't know. I think The Last Unicorn deserves a live action adaptation.
It's funny because it's not going to have this crazy hardcore fan base that's going to be too angry about it being remade. Just do it. We should commission it. That should be the first Monkeys Fighting Robot production company movie, is a remake of The Last Unicorn.
I mean, because Snow White and the Last Huntsman. I mean, like, if they could pull, I mean, like, that was a good visualization of what the Last Unicorn universe was like. We'll talk about whether the movie was good or bad for the last, the Huntsman and stuff like that. But like, they're already making these type of films, and it's easy to make a unicorn and a giant bull run around. I mean, we just saw Fantastic Beasts. Like, this would actually be an easy film to make, and it makes sense. Like, some guy wants to capture all the unicorns and get their unicorn power. I mean, like, it's. Yeah. I don't know why. How has this movie not been made?
Well, I'm glad you, the vocal minority, for pitching this movie to Hollywood right now.
Yes. November 19th, 1982 is when the film came out. Ah, man. It was Jules Bass. That was the director. And
probably didn't go on to do too much just because The Last Unicorn was underappreciated.
Well, number one, he did Thunder. He did all the Thundercats. And then he was a producer on Silverhawks. Let's just get the director credits here. Wow. His director. No, he did all the Rudolph movies.
Oh, that's genius. Oh, yeah. Then you're fine. You didn't need it. You could have made a movie like The Last Unicorn and didn't care because you were banking on Rudolph money.
Oh man, just looking at again, we learn new things all the time. And are you alive?
We have to try to educate every other people.
Jules Best doesn't say he's dead, but he was born in 1935, so he's on the end. He's on the end, but like, he did a lot of good stuff.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that up with my number 3 pick, because that was a great tangent about The Last Unicorn. But my number 3 pick is from 1993. It's so funny that a lot of yours are based in the 80s, and a lot of mine, when I was kind of doing drafts of this, were a lot of 90s films. But yeah, number 3 for me is Hocus Pocus. The Halloween time favorite right now. One of my favorite Bette Midler performances. Everything about that movie is great. It uses witches and witchcraft in such a fun way. It's so campy. And I just like that where it's kind of, I was talking to you about this before. The two channels that play it the most during Halloween time is Logo, the gay channel in America, and Disney Channel. So it's just so funny the spectrum that this movie has hit and how recognizable it is.
I just remember slutty Sarah Jessica Parker witch. That's all I remember about this film.
And you know what's so funny? She looks so different in that film than she does in anything else. And I really liked her witch in that. That's kind of the archetype of females I like. This like ditzy, slutty blonde kind of character. She's so funny. Loved her in that movie. Kathy Najimy did her role great, but that is a Bette Midler piece. I know everyone knows her from Beaches or just her singing career, but a whole generation knows Bette Midler as Winifred Sanderson, I think is her name in the movie. So yeah, everyone knows her as that from my generation. Love it. One of my favorite witch movies, one of my favorite magic movies ever. Kind of, I think, in my top maybe 20 movies of all time. I've seen this so many times.
I just remember this film because like the witches just look so like Bette Midler just goes into this transformation of a witch, and I'm just like, I gotta look away. Like you're just scaring me and stuff. But I mean, you have an immortal cat. Whenever you have an immortal cat, you're doing really well. My wife hates our immortal cat. Like she's like, will you just die? But Izzy will not die because she's immortal. So we're waiting for the witches to come back. But yeah, this movie just won't die.
I struggled for this because I really wanted to put The Witches, which is another iconic 90 movies about witches. But I really think, like you said, Hocus Pocus will just not go away. This just has this thing every year. I feel like it's getting more and more popular. Even Bette Midler, I think last Halloween or this Halloween, performed it in LA in front of a bunch of people dressed up as character. This movie is so awesome.
Okay. Quick battle right now. Bette Midler witch versus Angelica Houston witch. Who wins?
Oh, Angelica Houston's witch won just for her transformation alone. I think that's one of the coolest movie scenes ever. Her witch alone, and I'm a huge Angelica Houston fan, but I really like Hocus Pocus more as a movie.
Then Angelica Houston makes it to the next round versus David Bowie.
Oh man, well, I don't know. Those are some cheekbones there, right? For some two humans. I really don't know. Like, can I just mix them together and make the most perfect human being ever? It's like, well, that's just Tilda Swinton. If you mix Angelica Houston and David Bowie together, you get Tilda Swinton.
Your love for Tilda Swinton is disgusting.
It's undying.
It's straight up disgusting.
From Chronicles of Narnia to her starring as David Bowie in a David Bowie music video. I love her.
Okay, you know what? I this is where I get really mad at you because you don't give her any props for her role in Keanu Reeves' Constantine.
I love that performance of her, and I definitely don't talk about that enough because her playing a man, especially, love that. I mean, I can go on about her starring in that really bad 90s movie Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. Like she was the girl in Beach. Yeah. Surprise, things you don't remember about Tilda Swinton's career, but yeah, she's the main female in that movie. Yeah, so that's something so funny that she's had such an impact on me, and she's played a witch in the Chronicles of Narnia, a great witch too. That's a good honorable mention that we can kind of go back to.
Once I get started about Constantine, I'm just like on the page, and I was like, because I love that movie. I think it's the best, and I know that
that is a good magic movie as well. Constantine is something, if I would have probably thought about it, I would have put on my honorable mentions or my list because it mixes that whole heaven and hell, but it is he's a magic based character.
Yeah, there's spells in it. I don't know. I put heaven and hell in a different category than magic. That's just
I will definitely as well. But something about what Constantine's universe, at least, you look at him mixing with characters like Satana and all that. He is a magic based character, and I definitely think Constantine, if I can throw in at the top of the show, he would be an honorable mention as well because the show and the movie are both great magic based stuff.
The Beach is a Danny Boyle film. Oh man, this is It's my 100th episode. I'm going on tangents, people. I gotta just see what's going on with this IMDb thing. It's crazy. But I can't find a picture of Tilda Swinton in The Beach because I need to, she isn't the love interest, is she?
Yeah, there's a sex scene between her and Leo as well, I think.
Who's the bottom?
Huh?
Who's the bottom?
I know. It's like Tilda Swinton's far more masculine than like late 90s Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh man.
But yeah, I definitely like appreciate what, to go kind of to try to reel us back in what Hocus
No,
Pocus
because I'm
did
still
for
trying to find a
witches.
picture of Tilda Swinton like with hair at the beach. And did I find it? Survey says no. I can't find. Yeah.
Well, she is credited. You at least probably saw that. No, she's definitely in the movie, and that's so funny that you had no idea that. 'Cause that's one of the things. It's before she got a bigger name and before she kind of became this like androgynous character that she is now. But for a while, she was a performance artist in London, doing like things where she slept in a glass box for like 36 hours, and people watched her. She's a weirdo. I love her. Gotta appreciate her.
Oh no, man. There was one of my birthdays. I think it was like my 31st birthday. We went to Angels and Demons. The lead singer, I think it's the lead singer of Fall Out Boy, his bar in Chicago, and they have a model in the box behind the bar. And I was just like, oh, this is cool. And then I looked at her, I was like, her knees were dirty, her elbows were from crawling around in the box. I was like, that's a rough day at the office.
Yeah, it's like, is it worth the paycheck? Like, what do you do? Well, I sit in a box. Oh, okay, cool. You're hired.
I found Tilda Swinton on Google for the beach. She has her hair up in a bun the whole time, so she still looks like Tilda Swinton. It's no dramatic like, oh, I used to be, what is that? Bad Mama Jamma. Dante's Rants, Bad Mama Jamma, and it's Tilda Swinton in some sort of warrior gown with full blown hair. And
oh man, she would play a really good Joan of Arc. Now, just like fan casting things with Tilda, but no, to kind of explain why I like her. She was in a movie with Ezra Miller that I love so much, and he was in Fantastic Beasts. He's I think one of my favorite young actors in Hollywood, and they were a movie where they played mother and son, and he was like this evil child, and such a great thing, and that's where I love him and her. So now you get to kind of explain where my weird Hollywood obsessions came from.
Hi, one of my weird Hollywood obsessions is my number 2 film, Lord of Illusions. We kind of break into 1995, but this is Scott Bakula starring in a box office movie. He was Quantum Leap forever, and I love Scott Bakula. And then Lord of Illusions came out, and I was like, I'm going to watch this. And I worked at a video store at the time, I was going to movies all the time, and I watched this movie, and I was like, I hate scary movies because they make your mind explode, and there's not wizards. There's magicians in this, and then there's like, I don't know, sorcerer possessed by a demon. Nyx, like, it's just crazy shit. But I like it because Scott Bakula has like a wicked back tattoo in it that was pretty awesome, and I was like, I want that tattoo. I never got the tattoo, but I mean, like, it's
well,
amazing.
I'm glad you did not get the cool back tattoo from Lord of Illusions.
Okay, number
Maybe
one,
would have regretted it now.
No, it's in the middle of the back. I mean, it's not like I'm going to work shirtless. I mean, like, you can get away with a back tattoo. Clive Barker directed it. Clive Barker wrote it.
I mean, it's Clive Barker. If he's on a project, he's going to do everything he can. And that's what I think surprised me the most. As soon as you said Lord of Illusions, I was like, wait, is this a Clive Barker horror film? Did you mention a movie that's scary, Matt? I was so proud. This is what the 100th episode does, was get you to actually talk about a horror movie you like.
And this is probably where my crush on Famke Janssen came from too, because I think this might be one of her first films. I mean, she's probably done other films, but the first film that I remember her in.
See, mine's always GoldenEye, and I definitely loved her in that. That was my.
When did GoldenEye come out?
95, maybe 96.
This came out in 95, so maybe it was the year of Famke Janssen.
Yeah, and then to go on another tangent, she's just aged beautifully. Seeing her in the X-Men films and to see her what she looked like in Lord of Illusions, she's had a great career and stayed beautiful the whole time.
Oh no, I remember her. Like, I remember the big crush came from Rounders, when she was in Rounders. That was Famke at her best.
And I liked her first X-Men movie, I think, was probably her. I think she looked great. She was also on Nip Tuck for a while as a trans woman, and God, her character was so evil, so awesome. Loved her on that.
I mean, was she a woman transitioning to a man, or was she a man?
No, she was already she was like a male to female that was like years done, and she was supposedly like the best trans like person ever, just because look how gorgeous she is. And it's very interesting. You know, her role in that show is so great, and you know, she has had such an iconic career in these like mysterious dark stuff, and it's so fun to see that kind of started with like something like Lord of Illusions.
Well, her second role was in Star Trek: The Next Generation in '92, and then she made an appearance on Melrose Place. That's where all the hotties go. If you were a '90s hottie, you're going to Melrose Place.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like '90s hot people went to Melrose Place. '90s not so hot people went to Seventh Heaven.
Yeah, so Lord of Illusion was '95. It came out before GoldenEye, and then Rounders was 1998. Oh, and then 1998 is the Faculty, where she's
yes.
And then 2000 was X-Men, and it all went downhill from there.
I can't believe X-Men's already 2000. That's crazy.
That is insane. So I just told you my number 2. Now we're at your number 2 film.
Well, to stay in now 2000, it's a 2006 movie. My number 2 pick's The Prestige. Honestly, we'll probably say one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies. Batman Begins is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, but this and Batman Begins fights for every now and then as number 1, because this is so strange. I know Inception gets the whole like, well, it's weird and mind-bending, but what he did with Prestige is just geniusly crazy. Nolan at one of his best, and Nikola Tesla being played by David Bowie. Yeah, you sold me there.
No, this the Prestige probably has one of the best modern day twists that we've seen in a very, very long time. And then just the script is just really well done. The commitment to the characters and stuff, and not having a super happy ending to it, like it just. And this is right after Batman Begins. Because Batman Begins, and then they're like, oh, we have Batman Begins money, so we can make the film that we want to make. So this is probably his first like real big budget passion project, and it shows.
Oh, I agree 100%, and I'm really, really happy he got to do something, because I even love when he had no budget with Memento, but what he did with The Prestige and getting to be as crazy and out there as he was, but still early before he got too Hollywoody. I think this is a great example of what Nolan can do, and I'm pretty sure it's probably written by Jonathan Nolan, who is a crazy writer for him, usually does things like this. So if that is the writer, it makes so much sense. And if you ask people about movie, we were kind of looking at other people's list and talking about it, and The Prestige comes up a lot as well. And I think this is probably a lot of people's favorite magic movies, because I think it's the highest production. I think one of the best done, best cinematic. It's, not to toot this one too much, but it is a great, great film.
I'm about to make you really jealous with this story, because The Dark Knight, a lot of it was filmed in Chicago, like a lot. And at that time, I had the comic book store, and we were doing a lot of promotions at the IMAX in downtown Chicago. And I went there one day to pay for tickets to a screening of whatever movie we were going to go see there. And the manager was like, hey, do you want to sit in the back row of the IMAX? And I was like, sure. And I got to watch the test footage that they were working on from that day. And Christopher Nolan, his brother, the whole staff were like in the first 3 rows of the IMAX. And I just got to sit there and listen to them talk about what they had just filmed for that day. It was like an hour of me just sitting in the theater going, this is the coolest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, it's that whole expression, if you could be a fly on the wall. Like, as a filmmaker myself, I would love to not even just be in their conversation, just to hear someone like Jonathan and Christopher Nolan talk about, this is what we're doing with this crazy, awesome film. Let's take notes, just even if it's like, God, we have to reshoot this. Just that, yeah, you were right. You made me a little jealous with that, because as Nolan has kind of became this bigger Hollywood name, I still have appreciation for him for being a weirdo at first in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch Insomnia, I think I'm gonna have to
Well,
go back and watch Insomnia because Memento. I've watched that. I understand that, but like I remember going to a theater seeing Insomnia, but you weren't on the list. You weren't in the know about Christopher Nolan at that point in time. So I want to go back and see how Nolan-esque that movie is.
Oh, and that's what I had to do with The Prestige is I saw Batman Begins, I saw The Dark Knight, and I'm like, oh man, I really like Christopher Nolan. And then I went back, saw Memento, Prestige, Insomnia, and I'm like, oh, he is not the Dark Knight movies. He is a completely different person. And, you know, with Interstellar and Inception, I want to say he hasn't lost it, but what he did with the raw force and like Insomnia and The Prestige, he's a crazy talent in this industry, and that's why he made it on my list and so many others for this.
I know that people say that Interstellar isn't that good, but I fucking love Interstellar. And Dunkirk is his movie coming out next year where it's a war drama and big budget. Like he knows his cinematography skills are amazing. Like he knows like how to capture a scene and lay out a scene.
But also helps that he also knows how to back it up with, you know, with a good story behind it, because like I'm a big Zack Snyder fan, but the guy knows how to shoot something and make it look beautiful and tell a story visually, but not great script wise, where you get a guy like Nolan who gets both aspects of it. And that's why things like The Prestige work so well is you can have these crazy visuals, but you also have a beautiful story. Yeah, I definitely am excited for what Nolan can do, even though I've stopped liking him as much as I have.
Why do you stop like you can't you gotta like the guy. Like he's I mean like he's no M. Night Shyamalan. Like you know, I mean like
cinema. To me, it's my little cinema anarchist. Like once you get too Hollywood, I kind of have to start fighting you, and I feel like he has. But I still appreciate and always will respect him.
We're both in that line to sell out as soon as we can. We're cashing the check.
Yeah, but I want to sell out and then ruin the system from the inside. I'm a big John Waters fan, and that's what he had to do. He had to make Hairspray to finally get recognition in that industry, to then be like, I'm going to go back to making trash movies. Thank you for that money. So yeah, that's what I think Nolan is starting to do again, is be like, cool, thank you for giving me all this money. I'm just gonna start doing whatever the hell I want. So hopefully we can get back to that.
Well, we're gonna get back to our list now, because I'm at number one, baby. Going back to 1988, and you know, you got to give some love to George Lucas. George Lucas created a lot of good things. He gave us the Star Wars universe, helped us out with Indiana Jones, and Ron Howard, before he did his whole thing in the 90s, you know, before Backdraft. He did Backdraft, right? Before he did Apollo 13 or 14 or 11. I can't remember. There was a lot of missions for Apollo. Can't keep them all. But Val Kilmer and his I don't know, what would we call 88 Val Kilmer? Like, because he was kind of sex symbol, kind of drunk guy, like, kind of, you know, like he was all over the place.
Yeah, he was new on the scene. The Batman franchise didn't ruin him. He didn't turn into a pumpkin like he looks like now. It was a good time for Val Kilmer.
The guy's got cancer. You gotta leave him. You can't be like, hey, fatty, enjoy that cancer.
Okay. Before this whole him getting sick, he was getting a little plump. But no, yeah, Val Kilmer at one point, I think this was kind of the not the height of him, because this wasn't his biggest name, but this was probably one of his best moments.
But no, every character now is like Val Kilmer's character in Willow. Star-Lord is exactly like Mad Marigan. Like, it's like all that, like, these are like the Val Kilmer, Mad Marigan, that character is now repeated millions of times now in comic books and in cinema. And that snarky, like, screw up that kind of helps out, that kind of saves the day at the end. But this is when, because 82, I was young, you know, I mean, I was like 6. So then, like, you know, from 6 to 10, you know, I was trying to understand, like, The Last Unicorn and Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and all this weird stuff. But, you know, in 88, going to a cinema at 12-year-old, you get to see Willow. This shit is the shit, man. And also, what's up with wizards not being good wizards? They're always messing up their magic here and there.
Well, because magic's an interesting concept because that's something that I think all of them in the movies we've mentioned is once you start messing with it, it's not a light path. And yeah, I think it's Willow is what you kind of mentioned with Hocus Pocus. Willow will not go away. That movie has stood the test of time, and people love it generation after generation, or now year after year. It's awesome to see something like Willow live, and that's what to me kind of made Warwick Davis this interesting name where he was in the Leprechaun franchise for so long, and then to see him kind of strip that back and play this not Leprechaun character, so funny. And
I think
love
Leprechaun came out at a different time. I think Warwick Davis's career was pretty. I mean, he was pretty. This is post like 3 years removed from R2D2. He'd been doing tons of stuff. I mean, he's got how many acting credits does he have? He has 75 acting credits to his name, with his first film being 1983 Return of the Jedi, Wicket. And then he did 2 Ewok movies. And then he was a Goblin Corp, part of the Goblin team in Labyrinth in 86. And then Willow was 88. So he just went straight. And then Leprechaun came out in 93.
Oh, I always thought Leprechaun was like a later 80s. See, that's why I was confused. So it's funny then now to think about it, he went from Willow to then making his name in this horror franchise.
Yeah, he went from Willow to like not being broke and being like, I need to make some money.
But hey, I will give him credit because what he did, and to keep his name as there's not many dwarf actors. And I think Warwick Davis really did start something where we could see guys like Peter Dinklage on TV, even what Vern Troyer did in the late 90s, early 2000s. Warwick Davis was an awesome name in this industry, and Willow is the reason I think why.
Did you watch his TV show Life's Too Short on HBO?
No, not at all, but I've heard good things about it.
Oh, because he's just so mad at everyone in that TV show. And Leprechaun is the first appearance of Jennifer Aniston on screen.
Yeah, actually, that whole kind of fact is inspiring my Slasher Saturday, a series I've been doing on the website. Is I want to do a list of stars who started in horror movies that have gone on. We have Leonardo DiCaprio started in a Critters movie. We have George Clooney and other stuff. We have Jennifer Aniston and Leprechaun. So yeah, I love those kind of factoids, and I want to make a list based on that kind of fact.
Looking at the list of actors that are in Willow, the only person that has a movie coming out soon is the little man Tony Cox, as he will return in Bad Santa 2.
That's kind of funny that like out of that whole list, we're just gonna look at it and be like, but Bad Santa 2, that's gonna get you a paycheck.
Yeah, you gotta make the money. Oh man, I didn't know Tony Cox was in Return of the Jedi 2. He was an Ewok. I want to just make a list of everybody that was an Ewok. They just need to have is there an Ewok I know that they used to have with Wizard of Oz. They used to have a dwarf convention where all the dwarves go, but now there's only 4 left or 1. I think I met one at San Diego Comic-Con. He's like, "Hey, I was in Wizard of Oz," and I was like, "Keep on rocking, my friend." He's like, "You want to pay $40 for an autograph?" It's like, "No, I'm good." But I get to say I met a dwarf from Wizard of Oz, and we're good.
No, I don't think we want to do an Ewok convention because that makes us have to think about those Ewok movies that we got.
Oh, man.
Really odd prequels.
Those Ewok movies are the best because there was no Star Wars after that. This is the only Star Wars you could get.
Yeah, but I will take the whole other George Lucas trilogy, the prequel trilogy before the Ewok movies.
Okay. I don't know. Did we have big hair in 96? I know there was hairspray involved. There was some good stuff going on in the 90s. So we got to get to your night. We got to get to your number one pick.
My number one pick, I think, kind of is the epitome of summing up a lot of things on my list. I like female-led movies. I like witches. I like 90s. It's The Craft. There is no other movie for me involving magic and witchcraft that I enjoy, that speaks to me. If you don't know what The Craft is, think of the movie The Heathers from the 80s and the movie Mean Girls from 2000s. and give it a goth little sister, and that's exactly what The Craft is. It's just this one girl who moves to a new town and deals with these. It kind of gets invited into this coven of three witches because they're looking for their fourth member. And you got Fairuza Balk in it, who's kind of the villain. She was in Waterboy. She was in American History X. One of my favorite actresses. She kind of didn't do much after the 90s, but loved her in that movie. You have Nev Campbell in it, kind of right before or kind of right during the Scream era. Love The Craft. Great use of witchcraft. Great use of magic in that as well.
Nev Campbell. Did you say Nev Campbell? How'd you leave her out?
Yeah. No, I said Nev Campbell because I said this was around the time that like Scream was just starting to get big, and she didn't play that big of a role in this, but she was such a crazy like character in that. I love Nev Campbell. Robin Turner, who played I forget her character, but she was the one black girl in there, and she was so awesome. And like
Rachel True.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Rachel True was one of my favorite characters in that. She was so awesome. You know, she's done a lot actually after now as well. But
yeah, she's done Sharknado too.
Oh, well, because I think that's where most people in the 90s have now gone is Sharknado movies. But yeah, I really enjoy The Craft. And I think that's kind of like I said, it's kind of grounded like The Prestige is, but it's campy like Hocus Pocus, but it's a horror film. It kind of – to mix all of the things on my list, I think that's what The Craft is. And it says a lot about me that this is my favorite magic movie ever. Because it's so cool that the things that they do light as a feather, stiff as a board, which is a game I think people have all tried to do at one point. And, you know, to see witches try to do it, it's funny that it worked. It's the 90s. I love it.
Oh, man.
This is so me.
Nobody says 90s like Skeet Ulrich. Like, what happened to that guy?
Oh, yeah, he was in it, but that's why I was saying, like, even for Rosa Balk, like, she was such a 90s epitome of an actress, and love what she did in that. And, you know, she went on to later do The Waterboy.
That's where
I loved her character in that.
She was amazing in The Waterboy. Ray Donovan is on my list of shows that I want to watch.
She's in it. And
she's in Ray Donovan.
Crazy. She doesn't really not play crazy, but
yeah. I mean, I really like Liev Schreiber.
Yeah, she was in American History X as this like neo-Nazi chick, and as much as I like her, I'm like, I don't like you in this one though.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. She was in Justice League in 2003. She had the voice of Penny D. She's in Family Guy. I'm trying to think. I don't see anything else. Murder in the Heartland. What was her first movie? Oh, her first movie was the best Christmas pageant ever, 1983. Yeah.
Oh, and she was also in Return to Oz. Oh, talk about like Dark Crystal being a terrifying. One? Yeah, really, really terrifying movie there. Another
yeah,
cool. You know, that's funny because we were talking about some movies having more like we were talking about Wicked having more magic than Wizard of Oz did. I think Return to Oz is another one that has way more magic than the Wizard of Oz and is way more terrifying. Because they had the little bird on motorcycle people, and that was like one of her first, like you said, probably one of her second or third ones. Love her in that. But yeah, she is so great in The Craft. I think they just took it off Netflix, but if you can find it, watch it. It spells out the 90s for you.
I'm still stuck on The Return to Oz because that is just an insane film. I think we need to get chocolate wasted, and we need to watch that movie and review it. I think that has to be done.
That is the best retro review we can probably ever do. Is this like movie that not many people even remember, but what a crazy, crazy film that was. And we talked about it like with Beastmaster, Dark Crystal, and stuff like Return to Oz. These kids movies in the 80s were definitely not kid friendly.
No, like you would. Yeah, we'd all die. And it's funny, yeah, because it's like when you're on IMDb, it's like people who like this also like this, and it's like Labyrinth, Neverending Story, Dark Crystal. Because the Neverending Story, that shit got dark too. Like they all died.
Absolutely.
They all died.
It looks, you see this big thing that you're riding on. Oh, this is a cute family movie. Nope, dark as hell. Yeah, this whole era of movies is kind of surprisingly really, really dark. But then even on my list to go back to Hocus Pocus is then 90 starts getting a little lighter with their kid movies.
Yeah, somebody was like, hey guys, can you stop? Therapy is getting really expensive. Can you stop? Can you stop, please?
So many nightmares.
Tim Rose was in Return to Oz. That's Admiral Akbar. He played Tick-Tock. There's a reason why Tick-Tock is creepy to me, and that's where it came from. Because I know they say Tick-Tock in the Hunger Games, but I knew that there was a pre-existing creepy TikTok moment, and it's probably the Return to Oz. Hi. Oh, man. What I'm establishing is that magic movies, good or bad, are really messed up.
Well, yeah, and we talked about it. It's such a crazy thing of how, they go from family movies, but none of these are really that family friendly. Even the most lighthearted one on our list is still, magic is a dark thing, and I think that's really interesting that no matter what, it goes onto it. And I'm kind of glad maybe Fantastic Beast wasn't that great, because it inspired a really, really fun discussion with us and kind of breaking down what magic and movies are.
Yeah, no, it's just imagine if Fantastic Beast was good and we talked about that instead of this, because I feel like I embraced the tangent on my 100 episode.
Yeah, because I couldn't think of 30 minutes of trying to praise awkward Eddie Redmayne from Fantastic Beast, so this was way better of an idea.
I know you mentioned your highlights from the podcast. Do you have any lowlights? What's the most what's the most awkward moment we've had on this podcast?
I don't want to say it's awkward, but I think one of the most difficult one is the one we did right after the Pulse shooting in Orlando. And that was such a cool thing just to have a somber discussion. But that was such a hard show for us because we talk about me not being the most happy-go-lucky person. But even that was just like, damn, we really do need some kind of positivity and some kind of heroes. So I don't want to say it was a low moment, but it was definitely one of the harder shows. And I go back to one of my favorites is us. Our first podcast together was discussing Batman v Superman. And that's been one of the biggest discussions of the whole year, especially between me and you. So I really think that kind of sums it up. So, yeah, there's been some high and some low moments, but really all throughout, it's really been fun. And I'm really glad I got to join the podcast.
Well, I appreciate that you're here. And we do have to give a quick few shout outs to a few of the writers on Monkeys Fighting Robots. Nick Inquist, his favorite film dealing with magic was Labyrinth. Ali Salberg, his favorite film is The Prestige. And Ashley Carter, hers is Howl's Moving Castle. Which is another Studio Ghibli movie. It's kind of like Kiki's Delivery Service or Spirited Away. Great film. That was struggling on my list to not put it on. But yeah, that's a great movie about magic. Yeah. It's all good suggestions. And like The Princess Bride was another one, like Labyrinth. Like there was a lot of movies that we could have talked about. Like you ended up talking about Prestige. But I wanted to talk about the ones that I personally liked. Not like everyone, because I mean, you can get everyone's opinion, but you're listening for our kind of like quirky insight. And that's what I wanted to give Chad. Like I really need to know what's going on with Chad.
Yeah, I miss his comments, and I really hope this tangent-filled discussion, because I remember even someone commented, I can't remember the commenter's name, but he talked about a couple weeks ago, he misses us going down the rabbit hole of tangents, and the 100th episode was the rabbit hole tangent episode I think he's been waiting for.
Yes, enjoy, my friend. Is that it?
I don't want to say this is it almost feels like this is a goodbye forever, but no, we come back for 101 next week.
Yeah, no, the ship just keeps rolling. But I mean, like, is there anything else that we want to add to the podcast that, because it's our 100th, it's the big epi, whatever. I don't know. I think that's it. I think we said everything.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Real quick, what's been one of your favorite podcast shows we've gotten to do so far? Do you have like one that sticks out that we've gotten to really have a good show with?
Which one then? I mean, I know that the Batman vs Superman. I'm trying to think of where I yell. Whenever I yell at you, I think is where I enjoy it the most. Whenever you're just.
We had one that I was like super negative on a movie, and you were so angry about it. I forgot which one, but yeah, we've had some good ones.
Was it Doctor Strange?
Well, that was one of them, but no, there was ones like it was kind of in the middle of it, but that was a really fun one to talk about. And I even like getting you to talk about Lady Gaga on the podcast, one of my favorite things ever. And I've gotten you to mention her a couple times.
Well, we had the battle over Sully. The problem with 2016...
Oh, Sully, that was our big one.
The problem with 2016 is the movies just haven't been that good. So we've had some good episodes, but we haven't really like had films that we're like, man, this is awesome. Can't wait to talk about it. You know, because I'm going through all these and I was like, I see The Killing Joke. I see Jason Bourne. I was like, I see Star Trek. I see, you know, I see the Ghostbusters, like all the big stuff that we were supposed to be talking about. Like I enjoy the Game of Thrones. I'm interested to see where that goes. I'm interested to see like our discussion on that. So whenever we had good times with Game of Thrones, that was really good. Preacher, kind of, you either like it or you don't like it. Those conversations. Turtle sucked. You know, The Flash is kind of going back and forth. You know, you got kicked out of the X-Men Apocalypse screening. Keanu? Is Keanu our favorite? Like, is that the best of 2016?
God, I really hope that's just the state of it. But no, none of the movies have been crazy outstanding. I think Arrival was the first one that we were both like, holy hell, we just went through a movie. That was amazing. But we've had great conversations, and that's something I really appreciate that we've gotten to have from all of these bad movies. They've started some interesting debates, even if it's trying to go as far as away from the topic and going into a tangent because that topic's so stupid and that's such a bad movie. It's been fun, and I can't wait to do more.
Yeah, because the season finale of Walking Dead this season, like, was kind of blah. You came on in episode 67, so you've been here for 33 episodes. The solid 1/3 mark of the year, or 34. There'll be 34 because if you count 37, yeah. I think, I don't know. I'm not. We were told there'd be no math on this episode, but yeah, I can't wait until we like get to like some good movies. I mean, like it's.
Yes. Fingers crossed for next week. We might have a good screening, or something on TV might just blow us away. Hopefully, something's coming up that's gonna kind of rock us. Maybe Rogue One this year is going to be our big, awesome debate of something interesting.
Yeah, Rogue
we haven't had one.
The twist of the Westworld, I think, is starting to come together for us. There were some major twists this past weekend, so I'm interested to see how they end that season, because I that could be a weird time where you just, you know, is it a robot? Is it not a robot? Where are they going? What's the world? All this stuff, kind of thing. I'm hopeful for the last couple episodes of Westworld. Rogue One, you got Logan. Logan could be good. You pee your pants every time you see the Wonder Woman trailer.
Oh man, I can't wait to get into next year. Once we get to Justice League and Wonder Woman, that's going to be my cup of tea. Even I liked talking about Blair Witch this year. I think that was a fun debate between us because you didn't hate it as much as I think most people did. And that was actually, you know, to go back to our highlights, really fun talking about Blair Witch. That's what I want in the future. Is I really want to introduce more horror films to this and maybe get you out of your comfort zone.
Okay,
because you make me watch some things that I'm not usually interested in watching.
Well, we're not getting press invites to go see horror films. Not as many. I mean, they don't make as many horror films that come out. Pee in your pants, Wonder Woman. Oh, I was going to say I really enjoy going to Warner Brothers press screenings because they show us trailers. Like,
oh yeah, big shout out to that because I kind of miss trailers. You know, we see so many press screenings and we get none.
Yeah, no, that really takes me out of the mindset because like because basically what happens at these press screenings is you and I will talk, blah, blah, and then the screen goes dark and then the movie just starts. But when you go to a theater, the way my mind works is I go into a theater, the trailers start kicking in, and I start to just zone out my brain. I was like, all right, we hit the reboot button, we clear out all the whatever baggage is going on with the day. You have that nice, sometimes you have like 20 minutes of previews. But by the end, I'm like, what movie am I actually watching? And then the movie starts, and it's like, yay! And you don't get that in a press screening. It's just like, hey, man, just got stuck in traffic. Bam, here's your movie. Damn it.
Well, it's an old Ellen DeGeneres joke, but it's like after every preview is like you turn to your friend and be like, I want to see that movie, or that looks like shit. And I think that's something we don't get to do too often because we don't see trailers. And not that we're both chatty kind of people, but we kind of
we
like
are
being the
catty,
snarky.
though. We are catty.
Well, I was about to say we like being the two old guys from the Muppets who just stand up on the balcony and just judge everybody.
Waldorf and Stadler? Yes. Oh, no. If you're wearing a bad outfit and you walk through the press section, I will let you know that you're wearing a bad outfit.
So yeah, I think that's what we get to do. I think we did it last night when we saw Fantastic Beasts, where we saw the Lego Batman movie, and we were both like, oh boy. Or I saw Wonder Woman, freaked out. That is something I miss. So shout out to Warner Brothers. Maybe hopefully more keep doing it, because I kind of miss seeing some trailers, and I don't usually go out and seek them and watch them myself. So to see them kind of forcefully, it helps out.
If you are looking for a website to watch trailers on, there's this. I just heard about it. It's relatively new. I think it's called monkeysfightingrobots.com. I'm not sure about the name, but I think that's where you can go to watch trailers.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if there's anywhere else. Like, I think Monkeys Fighting Robots might be the best place to watch trailers, but no big deal.
EJ, I think we are done with the 100th episode of Monkeys Fighting Robots.
Yes, happy birthday to Monkeys Fighting Robots podcast. 100 years old now.
Do you get a birthday on your 100th episode?
Oh, yeah. I think if this podcast could, it would get a cake today.
Oh, okay. Well, that just means that I'm like, Margot, bake me a cake. And she's going to be why? And I'm going to get hit, But that's so don't yell at your wife to bake you a cake on the 100th episode. Just be like, maybe send a text message. Be like, hey, we just recorded the 100th episode. Really like a cake. That'd be pretty awesome. I mean, we came in second this year at Best of the Bay. There was some good stuff going on. We did some things.
Yeah. Oh, we got number 1 at Best in the Bay. Let's not give us number 2. We won. Number 1. We talked about that already. We got number 1.
Hi, AJ. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. I can't wait for next week's podcast.
Hey, Matt, we survived another episode. Oh, no!
Once again, there are several ways to continue the conversation after the show. Follow us on Twitter at monkeys_robots. You can look at all our silly photos on Instagram at Monkeys Fighting Robots. You can follow me on Twitter at Matthew Sardo. My co-host, EJ. He's also on Twitter at EJ Christ with a K. The biggest compliment we receive is when the subscriber number goes up on SoundCloud. If you have a chance, we would greatly appreciate a review of our show on iTunes. All you Android users out there, listen to the show on Stitcher or Google Play. Google Play that shit. Oh yeah. And we're on YouTube. We got this YouTube channel called Monkeys Fighting Robots. You can watch all our podcasts, listen to them as I have stars roll over in the background. And there's like a rainbow monkey that goes through as you listen to our soothing voices. So go to YouTube, check that out. Additionally, there's this great app called TuneIn. Listen to every radio station in the world, plus the Monkeys Fighting Robots podcast.
Okay, Lunchbox, let's try this again.
There are so many people that made the 100th episode of Monkeys Fighting Robots a success. Special shout out to my co-host EJ Moreno for putting up with me. I don't know. Yeah, I had to put up with him. He was fantastic beast mode yesterday. You're not going to chime in?
I never chime in on this, and now people actually get to find out that I'm here. And I was wearing a donut shirt yesterday. I was in a fantastic mode yesterday.
Jeff Shade is the creator of our amazing intros and outros. Jessica Wynn designed the Monkeys Fighting Robots logo. Are you a monkey or are you a robot? The staff at Visual Realm built our website and keeps us up and running. To all my friends, family, and the interweb, thank you very much for your support. I'm Matt Sardo, and this is Monkeys Fighting Robots.